He's in the back row. He's in the back row safe. I got no.
Talk about monopod? Yeah. Talk about monopods. What is that?
I'm not sure. It's mono. It's a single mic.
Why don't you put it on the ground? On the ground? Like that.
Yeah.
You can't give away money. You're the last guy.
August 14th, board meeting. Airport authority session. Turn the phone back, please. We're going to start. Well, we have called the public, actually. So, we have anybody turned in? Call the public?
Anybody turn in public comment?
No, sir. Okay. Go to the next. Next tonight, approval of minutes, the line board meeting. Is there a motion to move? Is there a second? Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Committee report. Mr. Gould, Dr. Gould, actually.
Thank you and good afternoon. We held a meeting of the Community and Government Relations Committee on August 7th, 2012, in this room at 4 p.m. As noted in the minutes, we dispensed with the call to the public so that we could hold an open forum in which people could exchange ideas and discuss things back and forth across the table. Some of the things that were brought out, I think, were repeats of things we've heard before, but what happened was that we were able to hear all of these things in one place at one time. So issues of transparency and openness, response, clarification, honesty, follow through, a sounding board is needed, and I think we resolved that in terms of some action items that we're bringing to the full body. Clear policy, consistent application of the policy. I think we set about solving one problem that was brought up in the meeting, which is a word or phrase search on our website. But out of this, the recommendations that we're bringing forward is that we have a standing quarterly meeting of this committee to invite the public to come and address any issues that they have about the airport. Mr. Gresser suggested that we make this a standing or regular responsibility of the Government Community Relations Committee. The rationale behind that is that we've had various committees in the past, but they were ad hoc committees and they die as we change from one president to the next. If we make this a standing responsibility to this committee, then we create sort of an institutional memory of the things that we deal with, and it's also addressed in our minutes. Mr. Gresser also asked that people send ideas or thoughts about what is better, what is worse as compared to 3 to 5 years ago, so we could start developing some baselines, let people express their thoughts. Overall, I think we use this meeting to let people vent a bit, and having hopefully gotten most of the venting out of the way, we'll be able to move forward with some constructive solutions. It's always hopeful that when a person has a problem, that they can bring at least a partial solution to that problem. And this seems to be a good place to do it in that committee meeting, or at least in the committee meeting that we're proposing to be held quarterly. So Albert was there, Bill was there, James was there. Anything that y'all would care to add?
Oh, I think that kind of covers it. I think we made some progress on the process. You kind of worked on the process part rather than specific.
We can, I just sort of firmly believe that if we can agree on a process, and that process is fair, and we all understand the process itself, that it only leaves us to disagree about the outcome. If the process is broken, we can never arrive at an agreement or disagreement about the outcome.
I think the one thing that I keep seeing a little bit is sometimes the issues that are brought to us have not yet been brought to Mr. Williams. And I think the one person on the staff who has all the resources to solve many problems kind of gets left out of the loop sometimes. And so sometimes people have come to me and said a certain situation, and I say, well, talk to Craig about it. And far too often they say no.
I think we opened that meeting with that comment.
Yeah.
That for most issues, addressing with a member of the staff or with Mr. Williams directly is quite often the fastest way to get many of the issues solved. If it's something much larger than that, about policy issues and things like that, of course, the full board will eventually need to be involved.
Let me, if I could, just amplify on my suggestion that we write things down. I hear often that things are not the way they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that things are not as good as they were. And I don't know how to fix something that's not as good as it was unless we know what it is specifically that we're talking about. So I'd like to narrow it down so that we are able to address those things without just kind of slashing around in the dark. I'd like to know this is the thing, this is the topic. So I just think that if people feel that there are things that they'd like to see changed, I would ask them to quantify that so that we can then take whatever steps are possible to correct.
And that's, of course, recognizing that there are some things we can't change because we move forward. We don't live 5 years ago or 10 years ago. We have to develop policies, practices, and procedures given the environment in which we live today, not the one that we wish we lived in or the one that we existed in 5 years ago.
I think one of the things that you want to do too, Larry, you make sure that before you take on an issue or discuss it, ask that question. Have you discussed this with Mr. Williams? They say, no, we haven't, then fine. With Mr. Williams, if you have no success, then bring it to the committee.
I think that's an excellent idea.
I thought we had discussed that this committee was going to include the GA issues. Is that a misunderstanding on my part?
Well, that's Larry's inability to communicate. I use the word stakeholders, and I got some very interesting responses, which I will not share here.
Was that ribeye steak or was it?
Yeah, well, a couple people thought I was talking about vampires, but anyway. I use the term stakeholders because we have so many other entities out there who we serve. So rather than say just GA, or try and develop a list, GA, the traveling public, commercial, MCAS, and then risk leaving somebody out, I chose the term stakeholders. That's inclusive of GA.
Okay, and I completely agree with that. GA should just be one of the spectrum of, as you say, stakeholders, and I don't have a problem.
I apologize for being pedantic.
Well, I think it's important to recognize that the GA coverage is an important segment.
Oh, yeah.
So they have some specific concerns and specialized concerns. But yeah, they're not the only people that use the airport. We need to make sure that we take these other stakeholders.
I wonder if on that committee, would be a bad idea if you maybe offer John to see what we'd like to tell him.
Of course.
Happy to do it.
I think we need it more needed, I'm sure, but.
That's my life, that's what I live.
Maybe Florida might have input and things, or things come up, they can be solved right there, you might have an entrance, or bring back up later on, just try to get.
Absolutely.
Well, we need, I don't know if it's a later agenda item or not, but I think we need some approval or at least consensus to empower the committee to do this on a quarterly basis and other meetings as necessary.
And you can do that.
Yeah, I don't know, we need to take action.
I mean, it just,
Yeah, we will.
Rob needs to charge us with it and just move forward.
On a quarterly basis, and like what I think I would do, I would get with, under that committee, with the calendar, the rest of the year, set some dates, so we can pay those there.
We can do that.
Do we have to list this as a committee in the
Well,
bylaws or anything like that?
where we have a committee,
No, that we have this committee.
Yeah.
What was happening in the past was that we were doing this ad hoc.
we're going to make it one of their charges.
Okay.
Okay. Regular agenda is next. Mr. Corbett.
Thank you. Here's the report. It was listed as a presentation, and I didn't have a presentation. I just wanted to report on the insurance situation or the insurance coverage. I don't know how many of you are aware exactly the coverages that we have. I was a bit concerned due to the continuing legal situation that we find ourselves in. So I wanted to take a look at our coverages to see if I thought they were adequate and then report back if I possibly could. I had the chance to meet with Mr. Pancrazy, who was our agent, and he went over them very well with me, and I was fairly surprised or pleased that the coverages that we have are pretty adequate, pretty inclusive, and we should be in fairly decent shape. Our insurance doesn't cover everything, but it does cover what is necessary. That's basically it. Any questions?
Thanks very much. Appreciate it. CFO report.
I'll go through these. You've seen them in your Kindles.
I have a couple of questions when you get to this page. before we
Okay.
go on that page.
Please go ahead.
Well, I noticed on here that we have two large negatives, which are large revenue generators, the corporate rent and the fuel flow.
Yes.
And I was just wondering what impact is that going to have on our plans for our budget for the rest of the year?
As a matter of fact, the Finance Committee meets this Thursday, I believe.
Okay.
And it is having a big impact. I will just give you a one-sentence preview. Next year is going to be rough. It's kind of prevalent in the industry these days, and it's reached us now. Even though we're not going to be in as great a shape as we have been, we're still in good shape. And so it's a cautious but reasonable approach to next year. Essentially, our revenue we're anticipating will be down over $100,000 over last year.
Because I know that with the downturn in the DOD activities,
Right.
not on the training side from the Marine Corps, but both as a corporate customer of the DCC from time to time and as a fuel flow, that's going to have a long-term impact to that.
So we've revised all of our projections for next year And if you look up there, we're missing on almost every single item. What's saving us this year is car rentals. But we're going to go into this in some detail on Thursday and then report to the board at the next board meeting.
Any word at all on Ladies Anchor? With planning for our future?
Okay. I know that there's ongoing conversations, but other than that, I can't really tell you. We are very interested, and Millionaire's very interested. Omega has come here on more than one occasion, and what they've said is they're very happy with us, and they plan to come back here. They're satisfied with the service that they're getting. After the last conversation, they were deploying overseas somewhere, so I just don't know what's going on. But I will find out and tell you at the next
But
meeting.
is that fuel flowage, is it the airlines,
Yeah, that's correct. It's a little bit of everything. Primarily, though, it's other than the commercial airlines and GA. That's where we're suffering this year. So as you see here, all in all, when you look at both the aeronautical and non-aeronautical revenue, we're still meeting our goal, but that's thanks to the car rentals this year. Expenses.
I'm still concerned about the attorney fees. We're just getting more and more out of shape.
Yes, and I talk about that in the presentation to our Finance Committee. By the end of the year, and keeping in mind that's a month behind where we are right now, I think we're going to hit about 200% over on our planned attorney fees. And as I state to the Finance Committee, we need to be sending more to our attorneys, not less. We are as conscientious as we can be, in our day-to-day operations with attorney stuff. But these days, it's a fact of life. It's expensive.
I think what's happening to us now, Bob, is that, and I agree with 100%. I think that we are now extremely gun shy in our documents, and being able to review by our attorney before they go out. I don't let anything off my desk without my attorney looking at it. Nothing anymore.
That's a bit extreme.
It is an extreme.
That's your call.
But with what's happening on this airport today, I think we got to be extremely careful that we don't have I not dotted and T not crossed, because people are out there looking for it and making mistakes. And the staff is so busy with their day-to-day stuff. I mean, Craig and I had a conversation about the contract, the FAA deal, the AIC.
Yes.
AIC. And what really happened in that deal was that everybody so busy doing other things that it fell through the cracks. So the wrong documentation, wrong stuff, and it went out. And I think you just got to make sure that that's not going to cause delays, it's not going to be financial repercussion on us at all. But it's because, and on the other side of the coin, I don't think we need more employees. There's a lot of work to be done around here on a day-to-day basis, and as we do more contracts, FAA contracts, anything we're doing, we're building stuff, they require more paperwork. So,
I know.
and so, I mean, if you're kind of a catch-22, you want to get more money on grants, you want to build more stuff, do more things. The other side of that coin is that there's more monitoring to do on a day-to-day basis.
I have an answer to that we can talk about a little later.
One example there is the FAA routinely will send out new guidance. Recently we got a new set of federal contract provisions that are integrated into a lot of what we do. And so in the past, I would take those contract provisions, go through all of our documents, and make sure that we've got everything, in line. And these days, I just can't do that anymore. So we did the documents, we get all our standard contracts, we send it to the attorney's office, and they go through it. That's a huge undertaking, and that's why. And let me emphasize it, the litigation is not reflected in, because that's being covered by our insurance. That's day-to-day work.
But as an aside to that, some years ago, we had a retainer arrangement. The problem with that arrangement was that we did no work, we paid the retainer. We did the work, we paid the retainer plus whatever extra work it was. So, it was kind of a catch-22 there also.
On the brighter side, in spite of all this, which we kind of use our available cash as a guideline. That $1 million mark, we've always tried to maintain pretty close to it, and we're still right on it. So I feel pretty good about our financial position.
Big separate attention to mostly rent, outsiders paying the rent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next item is, in a recent board meeting or strategy meeting, there was a comment made that although the airport director has the authority to pull anybody's badge, there should be an appeal process. That made sense. Right after that, we implemented this phrase down here into the minimum standards. And somebody pointed out we should bring this to you guys to either ratify it or amend it. So this is the current process that's going on right now. Are you guys comfortable with this?
You really read that?
I think it looks good to me. I think that's what we're asking.
Wow.
It says the appeal shall be scheduled for review by the airport committee within 60 days. I think that's excessive. It should be less.
Well, I agree with you, and typically it's going to be, but if let's say the issue comes up right after a board meeting, then you've got to get it scheduled, or right before a board meeting. You've got to get it scheduled, but the board agenda's already been put out, then it's not going to happen right then. And so they have 30 days to file their appeal. And so if they take the full 30 days and then it comes to us, and you've missed the board meeting, then it's going to be 60 days by the time it happens. On the other hand, it might be if the guy makes an appeal immediately and a board is 2 weeks out, then it's going to be 2 weeks. So that's the worst case.
Well, it says the executive committee, not the board.
No, that's true, but I think it's reasonable for the authority to say, the next time the board meets, we will have an executive committee after the board meeting and hear your appeal. I don't think it's reasonable to, suddenly call all the executive and say, stop what you're doing and come in right now. So within our normal schedule, I think it's reasonable to build that appeal process in. It's up to you guys.
It appears to me to be reasonable. I think if we have a situation comes up, I think it's wise that we try to handle it as quickly as possible, rather than say, well, we got 60 days to worry about it. So I think we handle it as quickly as possible. But I think you still need the window.
I mean, we can change that 60 days to, as quickly as practicable.
I'm probably just used to a different environment, but normally an appeal in an employee situation is 7 or 14 days. 30 days is adding to the 60 days. If we wanted to react more quickly, I think if we gave less time for the appeal, that would allow us more flexibility in terms of scheduling or staying within a calendar.
Yeah, whatever you guys want. I mean, we can make, if you want to file an appeal, you got to do it within 7 days, and we'll have it at the next board meeting. I mean, you can make it that simple, whatever you want. Does that sound better?
I think so.
Okay. If you're comfortable with that.
Request an appeal within 7 days.
And request the appeal within 7 days, and we will review it at the next board meeting. Yeah. Because we can, you can add something to the agenda. That's not a problem. Okay. I will make that change then. Okay, solar power. We had a request to give you an evaluation of the solar power situation. Hopefully you guys have read the Kindle. It was
Novel.
It was an interesting situation. I put the best face on it that I can. But as you saw, when we did the design, the solar power guys that came and did the design estimated our usage on a typical bell curve because of the way we operate. You know, we shut down in the evening, stuff like that. And so the design is 90% of what your usage is, so you're not producing excess capacity. Unfortunately, there was a basic misconception on the energy usage in the building. And so it's much flatter than we thought. And so the system was way over designed. So we're producing way too much energy. The catch is that and we knew, and we talked about, you know, we expect we're going to be producing, on occasion, more power than we need. And we're going to sell that to back to APS. And it's going to cost us money. And this is where it costs us money. We sell our excess power to APS at 3 cents a kilowatt. But our contract with the owner of the solar panels is that all the power he buys, or that he generates, we're going to buy from him at 8 cents a kilowatt. So all of our overproduction is costing us 5 cents a kilowatt. And as you saw in your package, the excess cost today is about $2,000 a month. As time goes by, that cost is going to slowly shrink until we're breaking even. And I'm estimating that's going to be in 3 to 5 years. And as I also pointed out, remember, our goal in this whole thing was to get shaded parking with no upfront cost, and we've done that. Yes, sir?
How long is the contract for solar production?
30 years.
It's 20.
20 years.
20 years. And so our first thought was, well, we need to save, you know, we need to be more energy efficient. Well, that's your natural inclination, but that's not the case. What we need to do is increase our demand. So we're actually using that power. We're investigating what it would take to add the Quimby hanger onto the meter for this building. That's what I would much prefer to do. If we can do that, we'll see if we can make that cost effective. If we can't do that, then we need to go back to the guys who did this design work and see if we can't come to an agreement, because they're making good money.
Is there anything in the solar production contract for renegotiation? It appears to me your issue is not that you created too much electricity. The 8 cents appears to be
No, I would say my take on it, I haven't yet discussed this with Mr. Vintage, but there is a clause in the contract that if, you know, misstatements were made in the design, then, you know, there's grounds there to go back and talk to them about it. And so I don't know exactly, you know, how firm our legal standing is, but I think it's reasonable in good faith that we should be able to go back to them and come to some kind of agreement. I don't blame anybody for this. This is the way it worked out. But I know there's enough money on the table that they need to talk to us.
Let me ask you a question. Why don't you look into district fund, look into what it would cost to put a couple of electric car charging stations out there?
Okay?
I doubt there are many electric cars in Yuma,
Yeah.
but maybe if we could have a place where they could park for free or something to plug in.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, the parking revenue, we're gonna need maybe more power.
Yeah.
I mean, and we may get some mileage out of it advertising wise too.
Sure.
That's, hey, you guys got a free charging station.
I wonder if that'd be a hookup with AWC's solar stuff.
Well, they're way out there, we're here.
Yeah, transmission is
They probably have more
far.
electricity.
Huh?
They probably have more electricity.
Just thinking that
Yeah.
Maybe the Marines want.
Well, there's a, yeah, I got a good deal for you.
Yeah. We could
Got any electric airplanes?
You know,
Electric golf
you might
carts.
look into, I don't know, if I have a real problem for how the power delivers that on a yearly basis, but you might, probably across maybe, power up the tower.
Well,
A long
again,
ways away.
it's the transmission. I
I
mean, just
understand.
getting power to the Quimby off of this grid is, you know, is going to be $25,000-$30,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So trying to run it a long way, it becomes unreasonable. So however, I mean, having said all that, our usage, it goes up just naturally as we get more things going on in the terminal. We're fixing to put more equipment out here. We're fixing to increase the size of the terminal. We're adding air conditioners in there. And so over time, this issue is going to shrink and eventually go away. And so I want to approach it very carefully that we don't spend money to save money, and we're not really doing ourselves any favor. So that's kind of where we are right now. So we're, it's slightly embarrassing, but it's really not a huge issue in the overall scheme of things. Oh, and this is what I'm talking about. We're working on cost alternatives, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Quick question, are the buildings to the east on the power for the main building?
You're talking about the
rental car?
Yes, all that's on our power.
The whole terminal area.
Yes, that's
Except
correct.
the old seven wires.
That's right, that's the only thing that's not. We had a request to review where we're standing on public records requests. This is where we are right now. As you see to date, we've had 25 requests. We filled 16 of them. We've denied 9 of them, and we've generated this many pages. Of those that we've denied, typically the reason is the document requested is nothing that we have, and that could be either because we don't have such a document or there was confusion about specifically, how specific they were in their request. We've only had one that we've actually denied, and that is because this is a document that is not releasable according to DOD policy. Any questions about that? Now, in the process, obviously, because of this issue, we're implementing new policies. We already have, in fact. For record requests that have a fee of less than $20, we're going to go ahead and fill that request and send them the documents along with an invoice, just in good faith. If it's more than $20, we're going to call them up and let them know ahead of time. This is what it's going to cost. You promise you're going to pay. Get a head nod from them, and then move forward. But then they're still going to have to come pay before we give them the documents. For $100, if the fee was going to be more than $100, we're going to call them up, let them know our best estimate, and require prepayment before we even start on the project. And that should clear up any outstanding issues. Any other questions on that?
Any other question on that, anybody?
Yeah, we have, what are we going to do about the outstanding? I know that there were some of the questions came up.
I've sent an email to Mr. Gomez offering him the opportunity to come in and review the documents that he has outstanding. And so we have that currently scheduled for this Friday.
Okay. So that should take care of that particular issue.
Right.
And then this new policy, we won't have people get hit with
That's right.
large fees, not realizing that a request for any and all records could
Well, what we've
result in incredible...
what we've discovered is, when when staff deals with these documents all the time, you tend to think somebody else kind of understands what they're asking for, and they really don't. And so I think just by, following up on requests, letting people know, asking them to refine what they're asking for, it should take care of it.
Okay. Yeah, I think we've got to try to make sure we're not surprising people with the fees that come out. But at the same time, if we have to go to all this work to produce, if they really do want 4,000 documents, it's going to cost money.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that should satisfy the situation, outstanding situation.
Okay, the industrial center. As you saw in your package, the EDA has refusing to accept the bids that we submitted. And as much as I would like to pin the blame somewhere else, this is just an error on my part when we put the whole thing together. We used the federal contract revisions from the FAA, and the EDA won't accept that. The two packages are almost identical. The difference is the Buy American clause. The FAA, this is a biggie. The EDA does not require it. And so we've communicated with EDA on multiple occasions, trying to get them to accept the bids. They will accept the bids, but the conditions that they impose are so onerous that it's just impossible. And so I've talked to Mr. Eckert, let him know what's going on. He has been very understanding. And what it boils down to is we're going to have to rebid it. So we're putting that package together. Now, because the bids came in, we did get some information. We're going to change the design just a little bit. We're going to take out one of the deductive alternates, which was the enhanced fire suppression system. The basic fire suppression system is still in the package, and that's your traditional fire suppression. You've seen a hanger with the overhead spray. The newer systems that you're seeing now are floor-based, and they bubble up. We're not going to go that route just because it's an extra $300 grand, so we're not going to do that. So we're changing the design to take that out. We anticipate that we will bid this out. We'll publish the bid in the 1st of September, and essentially everything's going to slide 2 months because of this. These are the dates. This is today's date. If we can get it published on the 2nd, we'll try that, but I think it's more likely we'll publish it in the paper on the 9th. That will give contractors 4 weeks to bid. We'll open the bids on Tuesday the 9th, which is also a board meeting day, and so we'll come to you that afternoon with a new low bid and to get your approval based on all the follow-on approvals. And then after that, we'll go through the same process. And as we have learned, the first step is EDA has to buy off on it. So we'll go around here for a second. The project should start second half of October. Any questions about that? Marketing this year, this last month, NASA had their second full-scale test. I know you guys saw it in the newspaper and everything. The good thing about this is NASA requested our assistance in making a big splash in the media about that. And so they arranged for Fox to come in here, but all the other coverage was arranged for by us. On Tuesday, they used the conference room. They had a big press deal. And then also on Wednesday, when they did the test, we had arranged for all these other agencies to be out there and to participate in it and witness it. And as you saw, it got great coverage around the state. In the DCC, we had one of our routine customers come back. These are guys that develop air conditioning systems for use on airplanes outside. We had another taking flight segment filmed by the city. They came in and worked with Tri-State Care Flight. Tri-State did a great job. A bunch of very friendly guys. They were very accommodating to the TV guys. So so that went real well. We've also had the media working with us on all these other projects. So we're getting some good coverage these days. And we had these statewide journals publishing stories about us. We sent Jen to the UAS conference in Las Vegas last week. It was a pretty good show. She got a lot of good information. As far as the UAS initiative that's going on right now, everybody is just, at the starting gate, ready to sprint. Everybody except for the FAA. And there are lots of rumors floating around about when they're going to put out the proposal. And so I really can't give any firm guidance. The rumor I like the best is that they're going to wait till after the election because they don't want this to become a political issue leading up to the election. So I don't know if that's true or not. We could see it next week. We might see it, end of November. So we'll just wait and see that. We're continuing to work with Forget. And in fact, we talked to YCAA after the conference so we can share information and thoughts. These are the community issue events that we've had representation at since we last met. And these are the upcoming events that we'll have somebody at. Taxiway Zulu is progressing. We are on schedule. We've encountered a couple of small issues, but they were very small. They've been handled in the normal course of events. And today we're still on schedule. You got anything to add to that?
Unless there's some specific.
Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. And I just talked about this UAS. We're just waiting on the RFP to be published, and I really can't tell you when that's going to happen. The terminal modification, we've got the plug placements. I talked to Chris Thompson. We know exactly what we're going to do, but now this rebid of the AIC, I told him set that aside, get the AIC done first, and then we'll bid this out. So this is slipping a little bit. He said he thought by, I can't remember what he said, this week or next week they'll have everything ready to go. But the AIC is going to obviously take precedence. I don't recall if I've talked to you guys about this. We got a grant award from ADOT to do a master plan for Raleigh Field. We have sent the scope of work to ADOT for them to review. And in that, we're going to try and include an environmental assessment for the development options that we identify in the creation of the new master plan for Raleigh Field. The reason this is important is because in our communications with the Bureau of Reclamation, and just to recap very briefly, our situation with Raleigh Field is very similar to what we have with the county and this airport, but not exactly the same. At Raleigh Field, it's more of a license agreement that we have with the Bureau of Reclamation. And so we are much more restricted in what we can do down there in the way of development options. And it takes a long time to get stuff through the paperwork. Bureau of Reclamation has said if we will give them a master plan that includes an environmental assessment on the development options that we're talking about, they will give us a blanket approval for future development on stuff that's based on that master plan. That's a huge benefit for us. And so we're starting on that process now. We've gotten the funding. We're going to try and get the environmental assessment at the same time because it's not that big a place. The other thing that's important about this is I had a conversation with APS, I think it was just yesterday, about electrical power for Raleigh Field. And what they said was they've changed some of their policies in providing power to an entity like us out there in the middle of nowhere. And whereas used to the price was about $1.5 million to get power in there, based on new policies and studies that they've made, the price that they're quoting us now is closer to $500,000. That's a whole new ballgame. This really makes it feasible that we can get power out there. The catch is that it's up to the user to arrange for all the utility easements. And so we're talking about utility easements over Bureau of Reclamation land. So normally that's like a 10-year process. But we've got the funding to develop this master plan and to get the environmental assessment done. And so we're going to include the utility easements in the scope of work. If I were to go back now and change the scope of work to include that. So maybe we can wrap some of these things up into one package and within a reasonable time frame, a couple of years maybe, get a go-ahead to start trying to get some power out there. And $500,000, I think that is a cost, that's an amount that the state, that ADOT would be willing to look at funding, especially if in the meantime we've got UAS operations going on out there. So, so this is actually good news. That's all I've got. Any questions for me?
I have a question on Holyfield. We at one time looked at the feasibility of extending the runway.
Yes.
Is some of the land involved with Big Bureau Reclamation?
Yes.
Have we talked with them about?
We have, and they're amenable to talking about that. We haven't gone into any details, and so I think what we need to do is make sure that's incorporated into the master plan.
Okay.
So we can extend the runway north and south to the section line boundaries. That gives us a 5,000-foot runway. And then all we need is a runway safety area on either end. You're talking about minimal land adding to, and so if we can wrap that up in the master plan with the EA, then it's going to be reasonable.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to make sure we get that extension in there.
Yeah.
Master plan.
Yes, sir.
Is that land in the city of San Luis?
Yes, sir, it is.
Is there any possibility for a land swap?
I have talked to the Bureau of Reclamation about that, and
With either the county or the city of San Luis?
well, let me say, I don't know the answer to that. Originally, it was my understanding we were going to be able, they were going to get a deed the land to us, and then in a final conversation, they were like, and now all you need to do is pay the fee. And I was like, what fee are you talking about? Is this like a $5,000 fee, a $25,000 fee? And it's, no, the answer is you have to pay fair market value. That's the fee. So 640 acres, I mean, what's the price of land down there now? I don't know, but it's more than $1,000 an acre, I would think. So you're talking, you know, again, millions of dollars. So I kind of dropped any idea of us ever owning that land. I have not investigated a land swap with the city or county. I'll ask that question. Proceed. Yes, President.
Quick question, and it brings us right back to solar power. For $500,000 or less, we can put a solar power system out there 24 hours a day for a lot less than that. And the only thing we'll have to pay after that are our maintenance costs. I wouldn't consider paying APS, although I'm a major stockholder compared to it. I love those dividend checks, but I just can't see pouring that kind of money into something we'll never receive any return from.
We currently have a grant application outstanding with the Arizona Commerce Authority for about $300,000, maybe a little over that, to put a solar farm in down at Raleigh Field. If we were to get that, we could put that solar farm in, and it would meet all, and that was designed to provide all the power that we need for everything for the runway, access, 2 hangars, and I think maybe 1 outbuilding. So yes, that's true. And that includes a battery backup capability, so you've got uninterruptible supply 24 hours a day. And so if I can get a grant to put either solar or APS in there, whichever one ADOT is willing to fund, I'm happy to take it, absolutely.
Right now, we couldn't pay for it all.
No.
Or not even the grant.
No. This will have to be grant funded, unless, you know, UAS explodes and we're making money hand over fist down there. If that happens, maybe we will want APS in there. Again, it's kind of hard to predict at this point, but you're right. We should not exclude the concept of solar at this time, and we've got that grant application in right now. Any other questions? That's all I've got. Colonel Hayes?
We did talk about rolling field today. We had a strategic engagement planning session today, and that was the city of San Luis brought it up. They're very interested in energizing that project, and the CO expressed his desire to say that we're on board with rolling field up and running as well. Just so you know that that's out there and being talked about, so there's just some positive energy going around. Other than that, things are continuing to go well at the airport and the air station side. And stand ready to engage in any other meetings or any other things you guys want us to do.
F-35 is on track.
It is on track, and we're looking at probably in November timeframe, the first couple coming here. The CO for the first squadron is here on deck, Jeff Scott, a friend of mine, and he's getting ready. I'm not sure when his ceremony is taking, when they move 121 from Miramar to here is, but it's going to be pretty 4 off 2 off.
Is there going to be an arrival ceremony of some kind, big publicity?
Oh, I'm sure there will be.
We want to be in the loop on that. Okay.
Are we going to beat the Air Force?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're the first ever. I guess technically 501, which is our Marine Squadron, has got F-35s down at an Air Force base in Eglin, but that's a training squadron. It's not an operational squadron.
Yeah.
We're getting the first operational F-35s anywhere in the world. Right
There
here.
was a big splash, and it was in the state of Maricopa with Luke
Yes.
a week or so ago.
Yeah.
So I was a little worried about that.
Well, we turned out to hear a big splash in the F-35 in the same sentence.
They had to go to the Osprey, they didn't like it.
No, that was too close to home.
Colonel Hicks, have you heard officially anything about this San Luis power project? Have they come to NCAS about that? I think they're still looking for San Luis approval.
And we city council approved it.
Yeah.
Well, we
And so
talked
I
today,
wondered,
the only thing I know that we're on board with in terms of compatibility for land use was photovoltaic. PV is the only thing that we're signing off on. As far as I know, and there was a discussion meeting today about being compatible with the land use.
So the 3,000-foot tower project has not yet come to you officially?
It wouldn't come to me personally, but to the CEO of the base, I think he has been talked to about it, but I don't, like I said, the only thing I know that he's on board with, as far as I know at this point, is PV.
Mr. President,
Sure.
before the public comment, there's a section in the minutes that states that the board members can bring up some items, and I'd like to have that opportunity now.
Sure.
Great. We, at least I mentioned before the legal cost situation, which I'm still concerned about. I think there's a couple of different ways to approach that, and perhaps I could talk to Mr. Williams about it. However, I think that one way to approach it would be a little bit more of a board involvement. We just had a recent situation on the UAS systems where Mr. Gorley and Mr. Hager got involved and made some difference. And I think that that might even help on legal situations to have the board somewhat more involved. In addition, connected to that is that there's a lot of correspondence that's coming and going to the airport authority that the board is completely unaware of. Not all I'm concerned with, or I would be concerned about, but certain portions of it I think should be disseminated somewhat to the board members individually, to involve them and to inform them of some of the things that are going on. It's just part of action that I've been concerned with on other entities. So that's my involvement tonight.
I think the correspondence back and forth, I think, from what I understand, I see a lot of that stuff going. It has to do with operational stuff. Great, I'm sure the board, I think the board involved operational type thing. I think that's our job, basically.
I agree.
I think you'll find, if we start, my concern is we start dumping stuff on your guys' desk on a day-to-day basis or a weekly basis, I'm not sure you're going to do all that, do the work I've looked into, has been put into, it saves some legal costs, I'm fine with that, I'm with that at all. Ray, you might, they have more expertise in it, alter,
Sure.
I guess. Knowledge is, key to success is knowledge.
Well, and just along that line, I think we do. In fact, I think the board has been very cognizant of that over the last few years, and the recruiting that's been going on to go out and find board members that have skills that we can bring to the board to add that value has been taken very seriously. And as a result, whenever we've had financial questions, we've had people like Mr. Smith. Whenever we've had other kind of questions, we've got, all the board members here. And so it's not uncommon that we will reach out and ask somebody to come in and talk to us to get guidance on one thing or another.
The, also, Bill Gresser is head of the board applicant committee. So if anybody knows anybody that would like to apply to the board, we'll be asked to the board to let Bill know. Bill has gone through and looked at all the prior applications that are filed here. We have about 9 or 10 names of people. Anybody else you know, we have asked them to let them know.
When we do the solicit, we coming up on that?
We are getting close to it, and typically what we do is we will advertise in the local newspaper that we are accepting applications. That generally will produce, 3 or 4 applications. But the most successful method of recruiting board members is when the election committee meets. They talk about it, they look at who's departing, what slots we have open, what skills we need. And then as a team, they'll go out and recruit board members.
Board member run on by existing board member is really the best way. That way you know what you're getting. So again, you can tell anybody who has an interest, and I think you have to be really upfront honest with what it entails.
Yeah.
Better talk to the rich guys.
It's a real kumbaya kind of thing.
Anybody have any comments?
Behind you.
Yeah.
Chris Alberti with ALPA. The badge situation, do we have a specific person we're supposed to appeal to, name, address, phone number, that type of thing? Or are we supposed to just write up something and bring it downstairs? Or
Yeah, the procedures are written in the minimum standards, and essentially what it is file a written appeal along with any supporting documentation you might have, and then we will provide that to the executive committee. And then, although it doesn't say it, my impression is then you'll be able to have an opportunity to come in and speak and make your pitch.
as far as your solar problem goes, my suggestion would be, if it's contractually viable, is to ask them if they maybe you could shut down some of the grids instead of trying to burn more energy, maybe cut a couple of the grids down, and then go ahead and bring them back online as needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I got one question. Ken Scott, General Aviation. I may have misunderstood, but when you guys are talking about badges and revoking them, I thought we had talked at one time about 2 strikes and then it would go to the committee. Am I wrong in that? Maybe you guys could expound on that or something. Because I know we did talk about it at one point, because I was wanting 3, you guys all voted for 2. So they do all bad boys twice or bad boy twice before we would get nailed with an appeals process.
If I can ask you to speak to me later.
Sure. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think I don't know if we can respond to that, but I know when we talked about we had a policy for zipper up.
The only action item is to ratify this, and now I would say to ratify this with the changes that we talked about. You got to follow.
Okay, so the changes that to be clear, the changes that we've talked about
7 days.
are going to be 7 days.
And then the next meeting.
And then the next meeting. Okay, now I can see one possibility. Are we going to always have this on the agenda? Suppose that it happens the day before the.
It's happened 3 times since I've been here, and it's very unusual.
Okay, so next board meeting.
I would think so.
Okay.
second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And I just want to point out, it's not yet 5 o'clock.
Well, this is lighter in the summer, I guess. Not the hot meal for this.
Somebody make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Aye.
For my signature. If you have had an epileptic fit, you only go to the
Doctor or anything like that, but,
Thank you.
It's only